I'm going to read a little bit about how the throne passed from King Jaehaerys to Viserys, because it's slightly different than what was in the show. I'm trying to go episode by episode and kind of give myself a reminder of like how it happened in the books versus how it happens in the show, because I don't remember, and it's very short passages that I just can't keep an index of. So I'm going to try to make videos of it. So in the year 103 AC, which is for after Aegon's conquest, after the conquest, even though they said it was conquest of the Seven Kingdoms, Dorne was not taken until much later. Doesn't really matter right now, but 103 after the conquest, King Jaehaerys died in his bed as Lady Alicent was reading to him. So she was actually in the story. Otto's high tower was his hand, Jaehaerys' hand of the king. As the old kings, this is Jaehaerys, old kings' strength and wits began to fail. This is on page 351. He was often confined to his bed. Sir Otto's precocious 15-year-old daughter Alicent became his constant companion. Similar to how they did with Viserys in the show. But he dies. Alicent was reading by his bed. His grace was 69 years of age, which is not that old, but it is for here. He had reigned over the Seven Kingdoms since coming to the Iron Throne at the age of 14. His remains were burned in the Dragon Pit. His ashes interred with good Queen Alysanne on Dragonstone, which that was his wife. She was the queen. They were actually, were they brother and sister? Hold on. Yes, they were brother and sister. Alysanne, which I hope they go back and show the conquest and their reign, because it was quite long and it was quite eventful. Jaehaerys rode a dragon called Vermithor that we haven't met in the show yet, as of October 4th, 2022. And Alysanne rode a dragon called Silverwing. They had 12 kids, 13 kids, and none of them became the next king. Some of them died very young, but their son, Balon, gave birth to Viserys. So Viserys is the grandson of Jaehaerys and Alysanne. At the time of his ascent, King Viserys was 26 years old. He had been married for a decade to a cousin, Lady Emma of House Arryn. There was a daughter of Jaehaerys and Alysanne named Daela Targaryen. I'm guessing at how that's pronounced. She died on childbirth, giving birth to Emma. So Emma has Targaryen. She's half Targaryen. Viserys was grandson of Jaehaerys, and Emma was a granddaughter of Jaehaerys, and then they married, like you do. Lady Emma had suffered several miscarriages and the death of one son in the cradle over the course of her marriage, but she had also given birth to a healthy daughter, Rhaenyra, born 97 AC. Why did I start this video? This wasn't about Emma. It was about the Great Council. It actually wasn't between Rhaenys and Viserys, it was between Laenor and Viserys. So Viserys' father was going to be king, but he died. If he had been king, it would have been obvious that Viserys would have been next in line, but he had never become king before he died, so then it was like, okay, Viserys might not become king. He was the fourth kid. Their first kid, Jaehaerys and Alysanne's first kid, was Aegon, another Aegon. There's so many Aegons, who died as a baby. Their second child was named Daenerys, but she died at 6 years old. Their third was an Aemon Targaryen that we haven't talked about. He's actually Rhaenys' father. I don't know anything about him. I'll have to do something about him because he was the first rider of Caraxes, but we haven't dealt with that at all. Jaehaerys and Alysanne just wouldn't agree on it, but the queen died and they had never agreed on who would follow, still insisting that her granddaughter Rhaenys and her children had been unfairly cheated of their rights. The boy in the belly, the unborn child, who had been the subject of so much debate, proved to be a girl when born in 93 AC. That was Laena. The next year, Rhaenys gave her a brother, Laenor. House Velaryon and House Baratheon, which that was farther up the line, wanted Laenor on the throne next, said he had a better claim, although some argued for Laena to inherit the throne and their mother, Rhaenys. When his wife died, and then his son Balon died, the succession was again in doubt. With both of the heirs apparent dead and burned, there was no longer a clear successor to the Iron Throne. This is page 343 in Fire and Blood Part 1. But that was not to say there were any lack of claimants, and he goes on to list a whole bunch of people. The claims of Princess Rhaenys and her daughter Laena Velaryon were put forward once again, and even if they were to be passed over on account of their sex, Rhaenys' son Laenor faced no impediment. No such impediment, if you're going exactly. While Jaehaerys was trying to figure out what was going on, Corlys Velaryon was massing ships and men on Driftmark to defend the rights of his son Laenor, while Daemon, a hot-tempered and quarrelsome young man of 20, had gathered his own band of sworn swords in support of his brother Viserys. A violent struggle for succession was likely. Jaehaerys had a remaining son who became a maester, archmaester. That guy proposed that there be a vote. And that's what Jaehaerys did. King Jaehaerys announced his intent to convene a great council to discuss, debate, and ultimately decide the matter of succession. It was decided the council would be held at Harrenhal, which was in the prologue for House of the Dragon. More than 1,000 lords attended. It took half a year for them to assemble. No fewer than 14 claims were duly examined and considered by the lords assembled. From Essos came, I'm not going to list everybody. It deliberated for 13 days. The tenuous claims of 9 lesser competitors were considered and discarded. Archmaester Vagon was ruled out on account of his vows, and Princess Rhaenys and her daughter on account of their sex, leaving the 2 claimants with the most support, Viserys and Laenor. Between the 2 of them, Viserys had ridden a dragon, and Laenor had not yet, although he had one, so I don't know how that works. Viserys' claim derived from his father, Laenor's from his mother, and most lords felt that the male line must take precedence over the female. Viserys was 24, Laenor was 7. Viserys was Jaehaerys' grandson, Laenor his great-grandson. I don't know what happened to Aemon right now. It doesn't say. That was not as it was in the show. I don't even remember if Laenor was born yet when they showed the Great Council on the show. I don't think so. By a lopsided margin, the lords assembled chose Viserys Targaryen as their rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Though the Maesters, I used to read it Meisters, so that's how I say it, I'm sorry, who tallied the votes never revealed the actual numbers, it had said afterward that the vote had been more than 20-1 against Laenor. King Jaehaerys had not attended the council, which was literally the first scene in House of the Dragon. But when word of their verdict reached him, he thanked the lords for their service and gratefully conferred the style Prince of Dragonstone upon his grandson Viserys. Storm's End and Driftmark accepted the decision, if grudgingly. Storm's End was the Baratheons' place, I believe. Yeah. In the eyes of many, the Great Council of 101 AC thereby established an iron precedent on matters of succession. Regardless of seniority, the Iron Throne of Westeros could not pass to a woman, nor through a woman to her male descendants. And then, as show watchers know, later on, Viserys was just like, nah, we're gonna do it another way. Because Viserys doesn't like to make decisions. And literally half of the issues could have been solved if he had just been like, this is stupid, we're doing something else. Instead of being like, I don't know, one of those. Yeah, so that was the lead up into the Great Council, according to Fire and Blood. So I wanted to add some information about the Great Council from the World of Ice and Fire, which is like the history of Westeros completely, like from the Children of the Forest. To resolve the matter of his heir once and for all, Jaehaerys called the first Great Council in the year 101 AC to put the matter before the Lords of the Realm. 9 lesser claimants were heard and dismissed, leaving only 2 primary claimants to the throne: Laenor Velaryon, son of Princess Rhaenys, who was the eldest daughter of Jaehaerys' eldest son, Aemon, and Prince Viserys, eldest son of Balon, for, what is this word? For primogeniture favored Laenor, while proximity favored Viserys, who was also the last Targaryen prince to ride Balerion before the dragon's death in 94 AC. Laenor himself had recently acquired a dragon, a splendid creature that he named Sea Smoke, but... Oh. What? Sea Smoke, period. Acquired a dragon, a splendid creature that he named Sea Smoke. So he recently acquired. It doesn't say he was riding it in this one either. But for many Lords of the Realm, what mattered most was that the male line take precedence over the female line. Not to mention that Viserys was 24 and Laenor was 7. They go again into how important Corlys Velaryon is, and the wealthiest man in the Seven Kingdoms. So a lot of the infighting that we see in the in the council meeting in episode 1, where Corlys has, you know, he's a big deal. So both books spend a lot of time saying, you know, Laenor was the son of Corlys, and Corlys is kind of a big deal. Though the maesters who counted the results never gave numbers, it was rumored that the Great Council had voted 20-1 in favor of Prince Viserys. And for some reason, when you're heir to the throne, you're the prince or princess of Dragonstone, so that was said. In his last years, Jaehaerys named Sir Otto Hightower as his hand, and Sir Otto brought his family to King's Landing with him. And then there's a note down here that says, in the eyes of many, the Great Council of 101 AC thereby established an iron precedent on matters of succession. Regardless of seniority, the Iron Throne of Westeros could not pass to a woman, nor through a woman to her male descendants. And then there's stuff about Viserys' situation. So, just for fun, this is supposed to be Viserys. I think in his younger years. This is supposed to be Daemon. There's also a picture of Viserys in here that's really goofy, but he was supposed to be really goofy. I think Paddy Considine does a decent job, but this is supposed to be Viserys as well. So I think Viserys in his, like, later years. The only pictures of Daemon in here are smaller. Like when Daemon was fighting in the Stepstones, this is a picture of him. So it's hard to tell like what the actors would have looked like because there's only these drawings. And I'll show you guys more when I go into all the other characters. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye! Because Rhaenys is Targaryen or mostly Targaryen. Oh my god, really? Is he the first son? Hold on. Editing. This is supposed to be a video about the Great Council. People are making noise. Harrenhal's like the biggest castle ever. Sorry, there's a lot of noise outside right now, but They gathered in Harrenhal. Lots of people, and then more people. But Viserys' claim. Now there's a giant truck outside. The King's. What's it called? I was gonna say King's Council. My phone just like flipped completely around. Am I missing a page?